Hey everyone, my name is Ian. Welcome to the channel. I am doing something a little bit different. I really didn't plan on making a video today in the middle of the night, but I am. I learned about something via Instagram earlier today. I learned about something today, something very stinky, something very foul happening in our sort of legislature here in Washington. It does have to do with cannabis, so I know this is like a political video, but it is very much related to cannabis. This also mostly has to do with Washington State and people who live here. I think it's generally kind of interesting to discuss this issue, so if you end up watching the video and you have opinions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, because it's crazy, like the situation in general, but I'll get into it. Right now, there are two bills being proposed in Washington. So the first bill is House Bill 1641. 1641 proposes that we maintain the 37% tax on all products that are up to 35% potency in THC. And then it would up the tax to an unbelievable 50% for all products that are 36 to 59% potency in THC. And then beyond that, if you can even believe it, anything over 60%, 60% and up, I guess, would be taxed at an outrageous 65%. 65%. And on top of all of that madness, the bill also proposes that cannabis concentrates cannot be purchased by persons under the age of 26. So that's a lot. That's a lot to swallow and process. House Bill 1642 comes along and says that anything over 35% potency in THC is outright banned, unless you have a medical card. Those are the only people who can buy things that are over 35% potency in THC. I believe that's 1642. I think that's how it works. It's pretty simple and horrifying. But anyway, the person who brought this to my attention was Bethany Rondeau. She did so via her Instagram. She posted her testimony, I think against the House or some committee or something, against these bills. Her testimony does a much better job of explaining things, I think, a lot of the problems with these bills than I could. And she does it very succinctly, so I'm just gonna play that clip and we'll talk about it after.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Bethany Rondeau from Valcana, a cannabis producer-processor. I'm here representing my husband and myself. Together, he and I own one of the few minority-owned cannabis companies in Washington State, Justin being a member of the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians, and myself being a woman CEO. We do not support House Bill 1641 or 42. Washington State is already the highest cannabis tax state in the U.S., the next highest state being California at 15%. Most states tax cannabis at an average of 10%. This bill is proposing a tax of up to 65%, which is excessive. This bill would only have Washington fall further behind in the cannabis industry, creating yet another unfriendly business law and a public health crisis. By limiting the sale of concentrate products to 26 years old, this bill would support the illicit market in a huge way, as consumers aged 21 to 25 would turn to the only other option, the illicit cannabis market. Consumption wouldn't change, just the product being consumed, which would be untested for pesticides and untaxed. It has been 10 years since cannabis was recreationally legal in Washington. We have collectively matured to understand that prohibition doesn't work. This bill is a prohibition bill. Thank you.
37% for Washington. This is something that I bring up at the dispensary, actually, any opportunity that I can with customers. A lot of times they'll ask, like, oh, is there tax on the price? And I will tell them, like, oh, it's included, and it's quite high, and it's because of a corrupt government body. 15% for California, which, I mean, California, like, when I think of California, I think of I think of prohibitive, expenses for legal businesses, and no one's making it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've smoothed things out. But yeah, 15% for California is shocking. I didn't know that it was so much lower than ours. But yeah, this just seems, I don't know, this seems icky to me. Like this is very, very stinky. Like this is bad politics. It seems like corruption. It seems like greed. They really don't tax things like this. Maybe they do with cigarettes. I think they're really hard on cigarettes in Washington, but that's probably more greed. They're not this hard on alcohol, which is bonkers. I mean, there was actually some local news article that was claiming that somebody died from CHS, which is the cannabis vomiting thing that can happen, allegedly. I don't know anyone who has it. I don't know anyone who knows anyone who has had it. if you have any experience with anyone who has experienced CHS, leave your experience in the comments, because like I'm very curious about that. I was reading a local news article where like one guy died from CHS, and they were using that as like leverage to get these bills passed. That is just like straight up fear mongering. I don't know how else to put that. Like, I'm sorry for your loss if that happened, but we got to look at alcohol, I think, that like literally destroys families and kills people in numerous ways, like every single day. Like, it's just like, make it make sense, you know? There's just no way to justify these taxes and these and limiting access in this way. On top of all that, I think that if you pass this and you limit access to people, right, it's going to not only push them back to the black market, but push people into harder stuff. I mean, like, concentrates play a very critical role in helping people transition away from harder drugs or avoid them entirely. We are still probably dealing with the greatest mental health crisis in the history of our country. Like, we're still going through all that stuff. It hasn't stopped, you know, like we still are medicating to deal with it, and you want to limit access in just crazy ways. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. So I thought I would talk about it today. I thought I would try to get some public opinions, and I thought I would just, most importantly, spread the message. I am going to leave links in my description to comment on these bills. Now, this is for people who live in Washington. They're gonna verify your address and stuff like that. But if you do want to leave your opinion or send a comment on the bills, I would strongly encourage that you do so very politely. This is, again, per Bethany's story. She made the point that they would love nothing more than for us to give them fuel to make our community look bad. So if you're going to comment, do so with the utmost discretion and politeness and all that stuff. I have left comments, and they were very polite. Just have a nice day, all that stuff. I just wanted to I gave my opinion, you know, and there's lots of good points to be made, right? Like what we've already talked about, the points that Bethany brought up in her testimony, the fact that hashish, right, has been around for a very, very long time. People have been using it successfully for a very long time without a high death rate or anything. You know, it's like, there's just so much that is wrong with these bills and wrong with the tax situation for the cannabis industry in Washington in general. This is a message to my politicians. I think you look greedy and incompetent when you do stuff like this, and you do not serve the people who you are meant to serve. So anyway, that's that. Do better and have a nice day and all that stuff. You know, I think that's the whole video. I didn't really plan on making this one again, but thought it was important, so I hope that's okay. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you guys in the next video.